Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. Breaking news coming in that Matheus Cunha has reached a full agreement with Manchester United on personal terms. 5-year contract agreed, and Cunha is set to take Marcus Rashford's number 10 shirt, coming in from Ben Jacobs. Reports coming out that Mbeumo is more than happy to join Manchester United, and personal terms won't be a problem, was reported as well. Many credible sources have confirmed that Manchester United are in for 3 forward players, including 2 number 10s, which are Mbeumo and Cunha. And apparently Manchester United's dream is Mbeumo, Cunha, Gyokeres, and Manchester United are back in for Viktor Gyokeres as well. They're looking to buy players, they're looking to sell players, they're looking to have a busy window. They're still in for Gyokeres. Is Champions League make or break? That's the big question, because we're still technically leading the race. Arsenal going towards Cisco, Chelsea, Delap, Osimhen, what's going on there? Manchester United have a new transfer plan. The Athletic, actually, it came out with, honestly, Go is literally £1. Go and get the Athletic and read Laurie Whitwell's report. It was such a detailed report about everything going on United. I'm going to talk about one or two of the points mentioned in that. So much about behind the scenes. United remain in the race for Gyokeres again, being confirmed. Vivel, he's got a transfer strategy, he's got a plan. Bruno's made some comments about, maybe hinting at, his future is at Manchester United, talking about why United were good today and not in other games this season, the pressure. Shaw and Xerxes apparently picked up injuries. Garnacho, Price, and more. So there's a lot of news and updates to talk about in today's show. Lots coming in. But big up everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're having a good evening. Do you know what? I'm in a really good mood today. Do you know why? Because the Premier League season is over. This season is over. This season is done. And I felt really good after that Villa game. I felt really bad all week about football. Really, really bad. And then we beat Villa. We actually saw signs of the system and, actually, you know what? We could have won 4-0, but we don't have the quality in attack. What could be next season with 3 attacking additions and a goalkeeper that isn't a bozo? We saw signs. Obviously, there's injury crisis, but we're not in Europe next season. Don't need as much squad there. Probably won't get as many injuries. There were signs of positivity. We know players like Onana are more likely to go without Champions League football because of the wages. We can focus on the Premier League next season. But I felt more positive, I think, because the season is over. I felt positive. The season is over. The season is done. I don't have to deal with the season again. The next time we play in the Premier League, we should have 5 or 6 new signings. We should have a lot of the problems out. Obviously, we've got this BS tour to make a bit of money for Ineos coming up. But yeah, look, there's questions around finances. Can United afford Mbeumo, Gyokeres and Cunha? Yes and no. It's difficult without Champions League football, but if you get 60 million for Garnacho, if you get 40 million for Marcus Rashford, if you get 35 million for Anthony and 25 million for Jadon Sancho, it's very possible. But it's about getting the money for certain players. So we're going to dive into the news. We're going to dive into stories. A lot of people starting to think Bruno could stay. He gave Eriksen the penalty, made comments, about the future of United. There's a lot of people think Bruno could stay. Ruben Amorim essentially said to keep Bruno, we've got to convince him that the club is going in the right direction this summer and we will be where we need to be next season. Bruno wants to leave for trophies. Bruno doesn't want to leave for money. He said that after the Europa League final, which suggests to me, while, reports are saying he's open to Saudi, and I believe he is, but not in European football next season, I think he would rather go to it. I think if Bayern Munich gave us 100 million for Bruno and Saudi gave us 100 million for Bruno, I think Bruno would push for Bayern Munich. That's all I'm going to say. PSG apparently interested in Bruno. But yeah, let's get into the breaking story then from Ben Jacobs. Just scrolling through the chat. And yeah, big up everybody. If you do enjoy today's video, feel free to hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. We're on 111,864 subscribers. So not far off. Well, just like 136 subscribers away from 112k. So big up everyone tuning in. But breaking. Manchester United and Matheus Cunha have reached a full agreement on a 5-year contract. United approach Wolves this week regarding the clause. We obviously know Fabrizio Romano basically said personal terms won't be an issue. There's been verbal agreements. We sort of got news coming in this week, essentially of an agreement between Cunha and Manchester United, but it's now been confirmed, like the contract is fully agreed, which is good. Fabrizio Romano also, just adding a bit of fuel to the fire, retweeting his recent Cunha tweet as well, Fabrizio. He's sort of dropping a little bit of hints. He said timer Brazilian. So he just tweeted the eyes, the Brazilian flag and the timer and hashtag MUFC. Romano obviously said 4 days ago that on Monday, that United are closing in on the Cunha deal. The Brazilian has accepted the project as an agreement on personal terms as being finalised. So on Monday, it was reported that Cunha personal terms are being finalised. It's now being reported personal terms for Cunha are finalised. We obviously knew since Tuesday that Cunha had said yes, but we didn't have the personal term agreement written down. So some people had the fear, oh, we've lost the Europa League final. Yes, Cunha said yes, there's a verbal agreement, but Cunha hasn't signed personal terms. Now he has signed that. So that's big news coming in on Matheus Cunha. Now, Ben Jacobs said some other things about potentially Cunha taking the number 10 shirt from Marcus Rashford, which is interesting. Marcus Rashford is expected to leave. Villa, without Champions League football, less likely to go to Villa. So if we want to sell him to Villa, we haven't helped ourselves today, have we? But he's likely to go to Barcelona. Barcelona do have interest in him, but they also have interest in Diaz. So that will be interesting. Oh, the travelling squad is out for our tour as well. Garnacho's in the travelling squad. So is Ahmad. So Shea Lacey. Good to see Shea Lacey involved in the travelling squad for our little tour as well. Actually, one sec. I'm going to quote tweet that. I'll share that in a second, but I want to get into Mbeumo news. I want to get into a few other stories. But Shea Lacey is travelling with the team on this little tour to, where are we going again? Hong Kong, is it? I should know where they're going. Do you think Gyokeres will go to Man United? We're going to talk about that in a sec. I still think he'll go to Arsenal, but some sources suggest Arsenal are more likely to land Sesko. Interesting. Thank you very much, Michael. Hi, Alice. Thank you. Thank you, and Team Toon too. Man United have done more for Newcastle this season than Man United, haven't they? It's mad to think. Last year we stopped Newcastle getting European football because we won the FA Cup, and this year we beat Villa, first win in 3 months. And yeah, Newcastle thanking us. Like 96% of Newcastle fans said they wanted Tottenham to win the Europa League final. I think those Newcastle fans like Man United a little bit more today. Yeah, but anyway, do you think Cunha's PR spent? I think we're getting Cunha, but I think Manchester United are most likely advancing and trying to get Cunha done as quick as possible to try and get people to forget about the Europa League final. Number 10 shirt. If Rashford stays, he's unlikely to have the number 10 shirt, but Rashford is very unlikely to stay. Rashford, if we can't find someone to buy Rashford will likely do what Sancho did and just go out on loan again, but we're hoping a permanent sale. Alice, is it true about Mbeumo? Well, let's talk about Mbeumo. We're going to get the Mbeumo story up. So, Solly, who is a very credible source of information, obviously first guy to break the news that Onana was dropped. I said I've heard things from a couple of people that Onana was going to be dropped, but Solly dropped the news, confirmed it. Onana dropped, also said in private that Heaven would start, and he was absolutely correct on that. He said loads of things that have been really accurate about the squad. Very good source of information. Said this in regards to Bryan Mbeumo. Internal discussions have taken place about Bryan Mbeumo, but there's nothing concrete. We know that. We're focusing on Cunha, we're focusing on the striker, but with 1 year left on this deal, with him being Premier League proven, with him actually having the highest ground coverage in the league, he's got the athletic rate, and we're going to talk about what calibre of player United are looking at. We're looking at him. United holds serious interest in him and have inquired about the conditions of the deal. Now, he's saying personal terms won't be an issue. Personal terms won't be an issue. And that's big news from Sully, because the question with Mbeumo has always been, would he want to come to Manchester United? I know he's at Brentford, but, obviously Cunha wants to come to Manchester United. We don't really know about Gyokeres, but a lot of teams are going to be in from Mbeumo, Arsenal, Newcastle. Would he like to come to Man United? And Sully saying personal terms isn't an issue is pretty huge news, because that's Sully saying, look, Mbeumo would be open to the Man United move. He would be open to the Man United move should Man United move for him. That doesn't mean we're going to get Mbeumo, but that is Sully essentially saying we don't have to worry about personal terms. We don't have to worry about that. Look, obviously, if Man United and Arsenal go in, he could choose the Arsenal project over Man United. Why wouldn't he? But Man United believe that he would say yes. Man United believe that they can convince the player to join. Man United believe that Mbeumo is happy to join United. A lot of sources believe that while Newcastle have interest in Mbeumo, why Arsenal have interest in Mbeumo, and he very likely could choose Newcastle and Arsenal over Man United, and Mbeumo would be very happy to join Man United. He would be happy to join. That's not going to be an issue convincing him to join. The issue will be the funds financially. If we get Cunha and we get Gyokeres, are we going to have the funds to spend on Mbeumo? That's the big question. Cunha and Mbeumo would be perfect. They're both about 26, perfect ages, Premier League proven. The two of them have got more goals than us this season combined, I believe, in the league, or more goal contributions, so if you include the assists than us combined. I would get Mbeumo over Cherki any day of the week because we need athletic players, and Mbeumo brings that. Laurie Whitwell said last week on Monday, that options Man United are considering including Mbeumo, Viktor Gyokeres and Osimhen. He said on Monday, and he's a good source of information, Sky said that United want a striker, Cunha, plus one of Mbeumo or Semenyo. So we want a striker, we want Cunha, the striker's Delap or Gyokeres, and then we want one of Mbeumo or Semenyo. Now, United really like Mbeumo, there's interest there, it's the financial things. But as said, the player's happy to join. Personal terms aren't going to be an issue. It's about finding the funding and can we beat Arsenal, can we beat Newcastle to him? It was also said by Nathan Salt and Chris Wheeler that United have inquired about Mbeumo, and they won't be put off going for him this summer, was said. He's one of the options. They also mentioned we looked at Xavi Simons and Eze. Xavi Simons is not possible without Champions League football. And Fabrizio Romano said, United are interested in Bryan Mbeumo. That was earlier in the month. There's interest in Bryan Mbeumo. Personal terms isn't an issue. It's about United finding the funds. Could we do a deal? We could take Mateta after Cunha. That's all I saw, apart from new goalkeeper. Mateta's definitely on the list, but I think he's third or fourth choice. We will sign a striker, but I think he's third or fourth choice. Sell Bruno, a lot of people are saying. I wouldn't sell Bruno. I think we need Bruno next season. I think, look, if Saudi give you £150 million for Bruno, you have to look at it. But I wouldn't sell Bruno. What if Delap? Are we still going for him? We're still in Delap. We still like Delap. As of now, Delap is more likely to come than Viktor Gyokeres. But Chelsea have Champions League football. Delap wants Champions League football. All of a sudden, Chelsea are favourites to get Delap. But all of a sudden, the Chelsea want Delap. Just Chelsea, now they've got a bit of extra money, go, you know what, we want Osimhen. We'll pay Osimhen's wages. Because I'm telling you this now, Victor Osimhen suits Chelsea a lot more than Delap. I think Chelsea could say no to Delap, or they could get greedy and say yes to Delap and get Osimhen in. But I think Chelsea, to be honest, could move for Victor Osimhen. Like, I seriously do think Chelsea could move for Victor Osimhen, if I'm going to be totally honest. Casemiro played well today, yeah. Do you know what? I said it in my match reaction. Everyone showed up today. Why didn't you show up on Wednesday? Everyone showed up today. I thought Dorgu. I think Dorgu's been really good the last 3 or 4 games. I think he's improved. Heaven was brilliant today. Lindelof did well, and I slate him a lot. Bayendier was rubbish, but he got lucky. The goalkeeper's at this club, man. Højlund, I felt for Højlund, actually, because he scored a goal that was offside, but his touch, he was so out of place. It sounds really horrible to say, but Højlund today was like, and this season, it's almost been like the Make-A-Wish kid. Like, look, he looked really out of place. It's like a charity thing. It's like, we've got to help this kid out, give him his dream of playing for United. He looks out of place. And, I really want it to work for Højlund. I think he will be a good footballer. I think in 4 years' time, we will be talking about Højlund as his baller, proper striker. And I think he's not helped by Man United in the environment, but he's just so lost. Obviously, confidence is a big thing, but he was so lost today. And I just felt that if Gyokeres had played instead of Højlund, we would have been 4-0 up. We would have maybe won 4-0 because we were dominant. Villa. It was one of our best performances. I feel like we could have won 4-0 on another day. Honestly. Delap's going to Italy. That would surprise me. Let me search Delap news. I think he's going to go to Chelsea. I'm not hearing anything about Delap going to Italy. I'm not sure where you're hearing that. Apparently, Delap's going to make his decision in the next few days. But I haven't seen anything about Delap going to Italy. I don't know where Delap's going to go. I don't know. We'll know in the next few days. I really like Heaven. Hopefully he can stay fit. Yep, me too. I like him. I think he came off because he was feeling something and it was injury precaution. I don't think he's got any injury issues. Anyway, so the Muppeteer said Manchester United's plan for next season is to sign 3 forward players, including 2 number 10s. So Manchester United want 3 attacking additions, which include 2 players that are number 10s. Now, we know that one is Cunha, bish bash bosh, that's basically done. The other one is one of Mbeumo or Semenyo. Now, right now, Mbeumo is seen as more affordable than Semenyo, and also Mbeumo is better than Semenyo. Let's be completely honest. Mbeumo is better than Semenyo. He covers more ground. He's more suited to the system. He's got 18 goals this season in the Premier League, or is it 19 now? Or it might even be 20. So, yeah, it's Mbeumo's got to be the one that we go for, but are we going to have the funds for that without Champions League football being in this financial crisis? We've got to be realistic. That's, as I was disgusted they shown up the last day. It just goes to show they can play when they can be asked fuming. It just goes to show they can play when there's no pressure on them. It's like, what is it about pressure in this club? They can play when there's no pressure on them. 2 number 10s would be nice. And Mbeumo and Osimhen and Cunha would be unreal. Let's be honest. Bring me Cherky. Cherky's a good option, but Mbeumo for me is that guy. When was the last time Delap scored? I think he scored like 2 games ago. How much will Mbeumo cost? Rumours of 50 to 55 million because he's got 1 year left on his contract. And what we do know about Manchester United is that Manchester United will be very busy this summer in terms of buying and selling players. We spoke about it in my live stream earlier today. There could be up to 15 players leaving Man United. A realistic number would be 10, but we could see 15 players leave Manchester United. I'm talking players in the first team squad. I'm not talking about Dan Gore being one of those 15 players. And there could be 3 attacking additions, a goalkeeper's 4, a midfielder's 5, a defender's 6, and a wing-back 7. There could be 7 ins, maybe 8, 9 if you're including Aiden Heaven type £1.5 million signings. We've got Diego Leon coming in a few weeks. But we're looking at, maybe 8 in, 12 out, potentially. Obviously, 2 of those ins could be £1.5 million signings. But that's what, is being reported. Also, wouldn't be shocked if it was like 5 in, 4 in, 5 out, and it was a bit disappointing. But there's a lot Man United could do. We could do absolutely F4 and get Cunha and get a crap striker and then get a midfielder and a defender and call it that, and we can't sell Onana. And then we're like, we go into next season a bit worried. But I do think not getting Champions League football, the season being this bad, I think Man United are in full crisis mode this summer to do big work. How's United paying for all of this? I broke it down the other day, but I don't think a lot of you watched what I broke down the other day. So let me get it up for you now. Bear with me. I'm going to explain how we can actually afford to do this. Bear with me. Okay. How can Man United technically spend £400 million this summer? Now, there's all technicalities, wage factors, sales, etc. But let me explain here. I don't know how well this is, but I explained this in my live show the other day. So essentially, Manchester United could technically spend £400 million this summer. If we got £100 million for Garnacho and Rashford, and we technically get £100 million for Garnacho and Rashford, so we could spend £100 million. Yeah? But if we're spending that £100 million over 5-year contracts, we could spend £500 million this summer, not taking in part the wages though. So we've got to remember that. But Man United could technically spend another £400 million this summer if they got £95 million for Garnacho and Rashford. Let me explain. Garnacho £55 million, Rashford £40 million are academy products, so boosting their sales is pure profit under PSR. That £95 million pure profit instantly boosting the books. Why does this matter? When you buy a player, the cost is amortized over their contract. E.g., you buy someone for £60 million on a 5-year deal, you're only buying them for £12 million a year. So we could get £100 million worth of sales, and we're buying someone for £60 million, but that only counts as £12 million of the £100 million that we've got to spend. If that makes sense. So if United make £95 million from Garnacho and Rashford, we could theoretically spend 4 to 5 times that, depending on the contract lengths, and still comply with PSR. So that's 300 to 475 million. Now, of course, we need to take into account wages, and I'm not saying that we'll do that. It will come with its own risk. But if we could just off selling Garnacho and Rashford, we could technically do that. You factor in selling Højlund, Anthony, Sancho, Casemiro, Malacia, Bay and Dier on top of that, the wages saved from these players leaving on a free, you're already looking at £300 million. I'm not saying we're going to get 40 million for Højlund, but some reports suggest Juventus could be willing to pay that money. So you're already looking at £200, plus the fact that some of this is pure profit, which could allow United to technically spend £400 million. So you've got 221 million sales, 86 million in wages saved, 95 million of that's pure profit. So we can spend somewhat times 4 of that technically. So this could open the door to 400 million spending. Now that comes with their own risk. That obviously means that, we'd have to make money in the other, we'd have to sell in the following years to be able to pay that off, because if we're paying 100 million over 5 years on top of the 85 million we're already paying, we've got to find 185 million to spend on each recurring year. So it would have to be sales the following years and take wages into account. So it's not as simple as that. But look, Kieran Maguire basically said, yes, this can be done, assuming players are coming in on the same wages as those departing, but principles apply. He's obviously a financial guy. It's possible for United to spend a lot of money. It's not, all this and that, but it is possible. Nothing on Turkey as of yet coming out. 40 million for Højlund, lucky if we get 20. Well, the price tag is 40 because of his book value. Any news? Oh, clicked on the wrong one. Any news on Ederson? Ederson is the midfielder we've been linked to the most strongly linked to. We like his physical flooring, but Atalanta wants 60 million quid and he's not worth 60 million. Do you know what I mean? So while Atalanta wants 60 million quid, I don't know if we pay that, but that's one to watch. Lindelof is finally gone. Played well today, didn't he? What about the billion in debt? Well, we don't have to pay the billion in debt off this year. We'll probably just have more debt. We have, I think, 85 million pounds that we have to pay every year to pay off all sorts of money that we owe on, and I think that's on the revolving credit card or whatever it is. I think João Pedro would be a good signing, since that might end up choosing Chelsea. Interestingly, Chelsea have been linked to João Pedro. Do you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if Newcastle went for João Pedro. I think Newcastle fits. I think João Pedro fits Newcastle really well. I wouldn't be shocked. Brighton are willing to sell him. They are willing to sell him. Looking like Amarin's first summer at Sporting. If we're talking about this many players coming in and this many players coming out, it's well like Amarin's first summer at Sporting, isn't it? Anyway, let's continue on into some more updates. So I'm going to reshare my screen with you guys because I want to talk about Viktor Gyokeres and obviously Manchester United and what the future could entail. So let me get into this. This was what Romano said this morning on Viktor Gyokeres, by the way. Oh, I thought I was going to burp there. United remain in the race for Viktor Gyokeres. Despite the UEFA Europa League final loss, it may be more complicated financially, but the race is still open, nothing's decided. So there's always been this feeling that Gyokeres would only come if we got Champions League football. There's always sort of been this feeling, there's always sort of been this fear of he's only going to come if we get Champions League football. It's now being suggested maybe he could come without Champions League football, but it would be more difficult for Manchester United financially to offer him the wages to get him in. Now, we know that Ruben Amorim is pushing for Gyokeres. We know that Gyokeres is Ruben Amorim's first choice. We know that United are actually reportedly, as you can see, the most advanced in the race for Viktor Gyokeres. And Romano is saying just because we've lost the Europa League, it's not off. Look, we're not the favourites. Arsenal are the favourites. It's going to be difficult financially. We assume because we're not in the Champions League, Gyokeres doesn't want to come. But that isn't known for sure. Cunha to United is confirmed. Yeah, Cunha to United is essentially confirmed. One report came out today and actually said Cunha to United is a done deal. But that isn't a report that I trust because I don't think we've got an agreement with Wolves. But we know that Cunha has officially agreed personal terms with United today. Romano obviously said a few days ago personal terms were close, but we got official confirmation that personal terms is done and he's set to take the number 10 shirt. So we're still in the race for Gyokeres. We are technically leading the race for Gyokeres, but there's questions over finances. I mean, some believe Gyokeres wants to come, others don't. Anything in regards to Hayden Hackney? Nothing for months. I'm not sure if we're still looking at that, but I think he'd be a good player. So it'll be interesting. Gyokeres played his last game today and scored, yeah. So yeah, that's what Romano said on that. Now, again, I'd like Viktor Gyokeres. I don't know for sure what the plan is, but what I do know is that United want versatile athletic profiles for the rebuild. Now, look, go and read the article by Laurie Whitwell today in The Athletic. It literally costs £1. Honestly, so much of that. I'm not going to talk loads about what was said, but I wanted to bring up what he spoke about in regards to recruitment because this links to what we're talking about today. And essentially, these are some bullet points from what I picked off the article, sort of mostly in my own words. But basically, they're sort of suggesting that with new signings, they've got to be adaptable to multiple systems. So we're not just bringing in players that are going to play Ruben Amorim's 3-4-2-1 game model. We're bringing in players that if we sat Ruben Amorim, the next manager can come in and utilise these players, because we've brought in all these players for Ten Hag's game model. Amarin's come in and we're like, ooh. Whereas United now want physically good players, technically good players, intelligent players that if we do get a new manager and do sack Amarin, and let's say we spend 300 million this summer and we do sack Amarin, we're not naturally going to be in a position where we're like, oh, now we've got to spend another 300 million. We'll be saying, well, now we've got a good set of players and this manager can adapt to that. That's what they want, which is good. But interestingly mentioned, the current squad is seen as lacking key athletic traits, especially the physical demands of the Premier League. And I'm so glad that Laurie Whitwell said that. I think the fact that Manchester United's recruitment team and Amarin has identified that the squad lack the key athletic traits and physical demands for the Premier League is the best bit of news and information I've read coming out of United in the last few days, because there's all for signing this player and that player in the Premier League, but we clearly lack physically. And I like that Ruben Amorim has spotted that, and I like that Ineos has spotted that. And I think that's why they're going for Cunha. That's why they're going for Mbeumo. That's why they're looking at Gyokeres. That's why they're looking at Delap. They want physically proven Premier League players. It's probably why they're looking at Edison, who I personally don't know if I want. But that is good news there. They know that we need physical, athletic players that can suit the versatility, pace, and physicality of the Premier League. So the fact that it's been reported that focus and recruitment will be on versatility, pace, and physicality, that's key. Of course, we need technical ability, we need players that can progress the ball, we need IQ, we need all of that. But what I've looked at in this last January window was Dorgu and Aidan Heaven. Aidan Heaven, £1.5 million, physically good, fast. I know he was offside, was it Watkins, but look how he dealt with that. But technically good, suits Amarin's system. Aidan Heaven, 1.5 million, got the physical abilities, technical abilities, looks like he could do it in the Premier League. Dorgu, not Premier League proven, but physical and technical qualities. Who were the best two players in the final? Dorgu and Euro. Dorgu and Euro were the best two players versus Spurs on Wednesday, because they were like the only two players that could cope with the physical demands. And I'm not talking just about physicality, but I'm talking about athleticism, intensity, running. But they've also got the technical ability to do what Amarin wants. I thought Dorgu had a good game today. I thought Dorgu was one of our best players in the final. In fact, him and Euro were the only players that I felt showed up. Casemiro was okay. Ahmad tried. But I like that. So for me, this is good news to know that Manchester United have identified this is a problem, because we were good in all of the Europa League games. We haven't lost the Europa League game until we played an English team in the final, because when we play an English team, we get matched physically. Laurie Whitwell also mentioned that Vivel is going to play a key role in shaping United's transfer strategy. We're going to be focusing on players that do suit Amarin's systems and demands, but we want them to be versatile. And that recruitment has revolved somewhat around Amarin's tactical blueprint. So does that maybe contradict what he said about signing versatile players? Yes. Not versatile players, players not for Amarin, players that could adapt to their expanded, yes, but they're probably looking at players that suit Amarin's system, but also could suit others. Kelly says, Gyokeres is as solid as they come. I don't think we can go wrong with him, but we don't have a reputation for that process. That just don't fit. That's the problem. Gyokeres we want, but can we get him coming 16th? Edison's too expensive. I like Edison, but I don't think he's 100% what we need. And he's quite expensive. Please get Aiden Hackney, Cunha, Nasser, and Hulman. We don't need Hulman, but I like those players. United have 548 million worth of debt due in repayments in 2027 too. Well, it's not due, but we have to pay off a certain amount each year in debt. We don't have to pay off that much in 1 year. Like, we are obviously in a lot of debt issues. But we can spend a bit of money if we sell well. We're obviously doing this tour to bring us in like an extra couple million quid. We're doing the America tour to bring in a couple million quid as well. That's what we're doing. Who's the best physical Premier League proven midfielder? Caicedo. But we ain't going to get Caicedo. Like, when Ineos are describing the midfielder and the player that they want, they are describing a player like Moises Caicedo. And I said we should go for Moises Caicedo and not Mason Mount. I know he's ridiculously overpriced, but the player that Ineos want would be obviously not Moises Caicedo, because they know they can't get him. That's impossible. But Ineos want a player that is a Caicedo type player in that midfield. That's why I've suggested Believer. That's what Ineos want. I wanted to get into Bruno Fernandes's comments today because I thought they were interesting, and I want your guys' thoughts on this. So Bruno said today, more than the victory, it's the performance today that was important. The team played football with great personality and showed quality. Everything we have improved. It was easy to do that today because there was no pressure, nothing at stake. We had a lot of chances and we should have scored more in the first half. We scored in the second half, which is a good way to end the season. But the most important thing is how we start next season. He said, yes, we played better. I think there was a bit more freedom because there was less pressure and less consequence today, so everything's easier. You have a lot of the ball, more players shout, and you try more things. I saw a lot of players take their chances today, whereas in the last few games we were looking for an easy way out with back passes. And Bruno's basically saying today he felt that United were better because we didn't have that pressure. We were taking risky passes. And he's correct. The team is scared. It's got a weak mentality, and we've got to improve that going into next season. We've got to find players that will take that risky pass, that aren't worried about the pressure. Rinswin said, we don't provide chances for a striker. Name all the targets you want. Our midfielders poo if we keep Fernandes. Well, we created about 7 or 8 chances today. Højlund had about 3. I think Gyokeres, if he'd been here today, would have scored a hat-trick. I'm not the biggest fan of our midfield, but if you think Fernandes is bad, then what does that make the rest of our team? You know, Sunday League players? Like, come on. Welcome to Man United, Cunha. Well, it's not done yet, but it looks like it's going to done. I like Camara, but or Kamara, however you say it, but nothing credible recently. Cunha's a top attacker. Look, I can't wait for Cunha, but I'm greedy, but I want Cunha, I want Mbeumo, and I want a striker. So there is talk that Shaw and Xerxes have picked up an injury, by the way, but Xerxes is travelling, so hopefully not serious. Apparently Garnacho is a 60 million price tag, and Napoli is still interested. But also Manchester United's tour squad has been shared. So I thought this was interesting. So look who's going on tour. So we've got these 2 games over somewhere in Asia. I should know that. I think it's Hong Kong. Hong Kong and a team called Asena All Stars. Where is that? China? Kuala Lumpur. Oh, right. So it's going to Malaysia and Hong Kong. There we go. So we're going on this tour. So we play, I believe, is it Monday and Wednesday? Not Monday. We say on Wednesday, and I think the following Monday or Friday. I can't remember when those games are. When are the games? I feel like I should know this, but like it's just so unimportant, is it? So we got a game on Wednesday. We got a game on Friday, both around lunchtime UK time. By the way, that's what it is. So yeah, they're in Malaysia and Hong Kong. So this is the travelling squad. So let me get this up here. Andre Onana, Bain, Deer, Heaton. Cool. Would have been nice to see one of the young keepers, but fair. Harry Amas wasn't on the bench today, which I thought was weird. But nice to see Harry Amas. Dan Armour, Delo, Delict, Dorgu, Evans, Fredrickson, Aiden Heaven, Camerson, Kukonki. Then we've got Maguire, Reece Monroe, and Luke Shaw. Manchato isn't there, which is interesting. Casemiro, Collier, Bruno, Tyler Fletcher, which is good to see. No Jack Fletcher, but Tyler Fletcher really. Jack's been the better one. Jim Thwaites is there. Kone's there. Morehouse is there. Garnacho, Ahmad, Rasmus Højlund, Shea Lacey, Cheeto, and Xerxes. So good to see some of the young players involved. But Shea Lacey is the name I quite like to see on that list out of all those players being involved in the tour. So that is good to see. I'm just going to check if any updates and news has come out since, because there's been quite a lot of news today, but nothing as of since. But that is the tour. We've got games on Wednesday, games on Friday. And Mbeumo open to move, but nothing's advanced. We clearly want him. Cunha, personal terms agreed. We're going to make Cunha done this week. But this week coming, is just a big week for Gyokeres and Delap. I think in this next week, we're going to understand who is the striker that Manchester United are going to sign. Who is the striker we're going for? Who is the striker that we're going to sign? That's what we're going to learn and understand in the next week, which will be big. Anyway, people, thank you for watching today's show. Big up everybody that tuned in. Hope you enjoyed today's show. I will be back tomorrow morning with more news. I'm going to go and redirect you now to Never a Foul. So go give them a raid. Thank you for watching. Bye.